Hello, YouTube. Getting ready to start a second attempt to fly to Atlanta in the L1011 after the last live stream's abrupt ending when MD-80 on final decided to collide with us. So we're flying the Eastern Airlines L1011 here. I believe this is an L1011-1. It's a Captain Sim product. I do have to apologize. I don't have the stream chat up here at the moment. I will have to do that here in a minute. So, bleed air on. APU should be running. Oh, parking brake is not set. So we will have to do that. Okay. So stand by. Go ahead and pull up the window here. Bring up the 2D INS panel. So it looks like it's already programmed. Zero to 1. North. Oh, hey, now it's actually deciding it's wanting to work. Clear. 3, 8. 5, 7.0. Close enough. And insert, and then east. Seven, 2. Oh, I'm sorry, clear. North. 3, 8, 5, 7, 0. West. Oh, insert. West. 7, 2, 7, 0, 5. 7727.5. Alright, so that didn't give us an alert. It's 0.0, try this one more time. North. 3, 8. North. 3. Three, 8, 5, 6, 7. Nope, wait, clear. North, 3, 5, 7, 0. Insert. West, 7, 7. 2, 7, 0. 7, 2, 7. I guess getting it here. Again, I apologize if you're watching. I can't see comment sections right now. iPad just simply will not load YouTube right now. I just get a blank white screen. So I'm going to have to go get another computer here in a minute, as soon as I get this stupid thing programmed correctly. North 38. Clear. North 3. North 3. 8. 570. Insert west 077 271. Insert. Good. Set that to a line. And now we wait for the aircraft INS to align. And while it is doing that, I am going to go get a computer that hopefully will work for comments.
Rumpy. Near the window. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Departure frequency is 126.1, squawk 01.
Okay, I'm back. I now have a computer I can read chat on. As getting all the passengers on board.
Hello.
So we fly here. We're going to be flying into Atlanta. There's some... I'm going to go ahead and turn on ATIS here real quick. From Dulles to Atlanta, flight time estimated probably about 1 hour 30 minutes. Although there are thunderstorms currently approaching the Atlanta area, so hopefully we'll get in before they arrive, but we may not.
Captain, the cabin is secure. All
Alright,
passengers
so
are aboard.
2.291 or 29991. Let's go ahead and request taxi. Okay. With that, let's go ahead and start engine number 1 here. In wrench. Open start valve. Oh, hey, it's actually turning the aircraft. 3 times in a row. That's getting lucky. Hello there. I'm doing pretty well there, Make Sim and Pure
Ladies
Gamer.
and gentlemen, on behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we'd like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention as we display the safety features and procedures of the aircraft in case of an emergency. During an emergency, please remain in your seats with your seatbelts fastened and your seats in an upright position. In case of a drop in cabin pressure, breathing masks will drop from the ceiling and should be placed over your head. If there is smoke in the cabin during the evacuation of the aircraft, the walkway emergency lights will direct you to the exits, which are
We
located
are now
here
in navigation mode
and here.
for INS.
In case of an extreme emergency landing, you will be instructed to get into the brace position, which is executed by placing your head between your knees with your hands over your head. We would also like to remind you to turn off all electronic devices. We thank you for paying attention during this brief presentation.
Bravo 24 via taxiway Kilo 6 Kilo Charlie. Taxi at 8 Bravo 24 via taxiway Kilo 6 Kilo Charlie 7658.
I keep them a little bit up just because of the sensitive nature of the CH control throttle quadrant. Okay. Back to auto. Turn on the bleed air systems. Shut off the APU. I'm going to go ahead and look at the lower panel here. All that looks good. Door in transit. Waiting for that to close for the APU door. Closed. Okay, I don't see anything else. Go back to the captain view, and we are almost set. Flats for takeoff. Looking good. I'm going to shut off my phone. That being said, hello there, may contain Joe. This time, hopefully, we're not going to have any collisions on final approach. But we do have inclement weather heading out. One of these here. That's Kennedy to Dulles. That's Dulles to Hartsville, so... .6. For first VOR. Have to get used to actually having a plane with an auto throttle. Just gonna go ahead and set it for 235. So hopefully the volume level and everything is okay. Forgot to double check that before I started up OBS. That being said, I'm thinking about trying out Splitcaster or one of the other streaming programs. Tried Shadowplay before, but Shadowplay and things didn't always get along, I found. Seems to be kind of empty out here today. Eastern Airlines, yep. Putting the vintage in Vintage Airways. Be forewarned, I may get a phone call. It's probably late enough that I won't, that I may have to take, but hopefully that won't be until after we get airborne and into cruise mode. I do use a little bit of differential thrust here.
Dulles Tower, Tango Bravo 814 heavy, ready for IFR departure, runway 1 left.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy, cleared for takeoff, runway 1 left.
Alright.
takeoff. Runway 1 left. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
I don't know how well this aircraft in FsPassengers detects lighting.
Approaching 01 left.
One thing I do like about X-Plane is hit W and go right back to the default view.
On runway 01 left.
Run up. EPR looks good. Only got about a half a tank of fuel, but should be plenty. But we got pretty much almost max takeoff weight with cargo. Positive right.
Sure up.
Passenger fear due to turbulence out here. Kind of storming on the east. No, I am not. I have AccuFeel and some freeware textures for the clouds. Okay, so first course. FMS should.
Tango Nova 814 heavy. Climb and maintain 16,000. Climb and maintain 16,000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
Alright. Should be able to handle 2,500. Confirm. Turn flaps and gear up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving drinks. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving sandwiches.
An episode of Mythbusters, keep their mind off the weather.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just started the in-flight movie displaying on the screens ahead. You will find a set of headphones to your left. You can adjust the language and volume on the dials next to your seat.
Tango Bravo 814 Heavy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now safe to use your portable electronic devices.
Center, Tango Bravo 814 Heavy is at 9,300, climbing 16,000. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, Washington Center, Roger, altimeter 2,991. American 1861, climb and maintain.
Pass 10,000 feet, Captain.
Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, turn right heading 225, resume on navigation. Turn right heading 225, resume on navigation. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy.
Okay, so the next waypoint should be 109.2.
American 1861.
No DME capture. 9.2. Distance 68.7 nautical miles. We should have DME capture. Up our speed a little bit. Yep. I don't know, a McDonnell Douglas MD-88. Last time we saw one of those, they were slicing through about the front third of the aircraft. Up above the clouds. Traffic alert, though. Oh, hey, it looks like our inertial navigation system is on and working. The GPS of its state. I'm pretty sure that the inertial navigation system in or the SIVA system here is not modeled correctly. We'll do a little bit more modest, 1,600 feet per minute. I guess we can go up to 2,000, no problem. This aircraft has plenty of power.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt signs. You may now take off your seatbelt, but we encourage you to remain seated with your seatbelt fastened at all times.
Delta 2344, Washington Center, Roger.
Transition altitude.
We're reaching transition altitude, Captain.
29902. Okay. Might turn on the anti-ice. Shield heat. Okay, so that's on. Now, I'm already thinking that this aircraft does not have auto brake capability.
American 1861, climb and maintain flight level 340. Climb and maintain flight level 340. American 1861.
So as I was saying last time, I believe N335EA continued into service with Delta until about 1998, 1999. In fact, I think there's a video on YouTube called Flight to Victorville, and it's a documentary about this aircraft, this hull, with its last flight from Delta. And the last that I saw anything, it was sitting in Mojave Desert, or whatever desert is out there, pretty much scrapped. Hey, you know what? I got an iPad here that, since I couldn't bring up the YouTube app on it because it kept crashing, maybe I can look up this information.
American 1861, contact Washington Center on 133.2. Going at 133.2, American 1861.
Oh, apparently nothing is working in Safari.
1661, wind use flight level 311. Delta 1661, Washington Center, roger.
Fitting. Alright, close the app. Well, let's see what happens. Isn't technology grand? Yeah, if my phone goes off, I'm sort of halfway expecting a call from a headhunter. But
Contact Washington Center on 133.2. Delta 344. Contact Washington.
that, and I may be very quickly hitting the mute button as allergy season has kicked off and something fierce here today. And Zyrtec has not kicked in yet.
Going to 133.2. Echo Bravo 814 heavy.
Okay, so back, and I do have some information here. The plane indeed. Looking, that's the registration, I believe, is currently in use by Learjet 35. But the old L1011 says that it went on as N789DL, and status is scrapped.
American 8906 Washington Center, roger. Tango Bravo 814 Bandy, please expedite your descent to flight level 260.
Oh, we didn't arm? I had it armed, I guess not.
Tango Bravo 814 Bandy, please expedite your descent to flight level 260.
Can do. Want to make sure we don't get an overspeed here. Auto throttle should prevent that.
814 Bandy, please expedite your descent to flight level 260. American 8906, turn right heading 115. Turn right heading 115. American 8906.
I always think it's funny because you kind of get to this point and then all of a sudden you're like, well, the rest of the weather hasn't loaded in yet with the real-time weather. And then all of a sudden the weather will pop in.
Tango Bravo 814 Bandy, climb and maintain flight level 320.
Yes, intelligence.
Center, American 1861, with you. American 1861, Washington Center, roger. Climb and maintain flight level 320. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy.
And there we go. Increase 1200. Though, given the amount of power this aircraft has, I think we can probably just go ahead and climb our way 1,600 feet per minute.
Tango Bravo 814 Bandy, contact Washington Center on 135.4. 135.4 for Tango Bravo 814 Heavy.
Not seeing it here, but there was some pictures of this aircraft out at the scrapping yards, out at the boneyard. On Google at least a year or two ago, the last time that I looked. Fortunately, it doesn't look like those images are anywhere in the search here today. Apparently there is a borderless window executable that you can download for FSX, and I need to take a look at that. It might solve some of the issues that I have with alt tabbing. Just like in real life. Yep, weather popped in. Now, one thing I have yet to figure out. Okay, radar on. This should be the radar scope, but it doesn't appear to work. Virtual cockpit, yeah, okay. looks like the radar should be there, or else I am just completely missing something. There's no mission briefing. Okay. Well, I thought I would at least take a look at that real quick. Kind of a nice angle of attack there. But then once I relearned the basics of, how to turn on the airplane, like in the last video or last live stream, I've really come to like the aircraft again. I really do also like the wind selector. You can see that we're at 251, so we're facing a 40 knot headwind right now. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the pedestal. Engine vibration filter pressure. Or engine VIB filter pressure. Alright, I'll go take a fluid level. Looks good in the hydraulic. This would be engine pressure gauge. It's external power. I don't see anything here. Engine 1 status. Other than they're all high. The N2 level. Filter pressure. I'll go ahead and turn that off again. It doesn't seem to be adversely affecting the flight. If I'm doing something wrong there, somebody let me know in the chat section. interestingly enough, Eastern Airlines is one of the airlines that didn't survive 91, and really kind of the high oil prices due to the Gulf War at the time, the first Gulf War. The other legendary airline that ceased operations about the same time was Pan Am. Of course, Eastern Airlines was acquired by Delta Airlines. Well, actually, that's kind of a lie. They, So, Eastern was one of the big four domestic airlines created by the Spoils Conferences of 1930, and was originally headed by Eddie Rickenbacker, the World War I ace. Had a near monopoly of air travel between New York and Florida from the 1930s until the 50s, and dominated the market until some years later. Let's say high labor disputes and high debt loads strained the company under the leadership of former astronaut Frank Borman. Frank Lawrencio acquired Eastern in 1985 and moved many of its assets to his other airlines, including Continental Airlines and Texas Air. And it was liquidated in 91, much the same way that Pan Am. American Airlines obtained many of its routes from Miami to Latin America and the Caribbean. Delta Airlines, main competitor at Atlanta, acquired many of its L1011 and 7fit, and US Air acquired half of their 757s. Kind of an interesting connection to the 727s that we were flying, well, the 727-200s. Pioneered the hourly air shuttle service between New York and Washington, D.C., and as well as Boston, as Eastern Airlines Shuttle. Eastern Airlines Shuttle was sold to none other than Donald Trump in 1989, and became known as Trump Shuttle Airlines, which failed roughly about the same time in the early, 91, 92. But it took over the South American route of Braniff International when Braniff collapsed in 1982. So during the era of deregulation and consolidation and liquidation. So some interesting little tidbits of history with Eastern Airlines. Eastern did fly into St. Louis, interestingly enough, in our next flight, either tonight or sometime tomorrow. That flight was... I got to double check this on departed flights tonight, but I believe it was Hartsfield, Atlanta to St. Louis, to then Omaha, and then on to Seattle. Back to Omaha, St. Louis, and then back to Atlanta. That was basically the route that aircraft ran every day. And to me, that was a little bit surprising that it would be, because St. Louis to Omaha is a very short route. I mean, that's a 45-minute flight, if that. And that includes probably a good token of the time on the ground. It's literally, you climb up to 20,000 feet, you level off, and then you start your descent. So that's very interesting that an L1011 would be used on that route. Although, interestingly enough, I believe TWA used the L1011 on a route that included a hop from St. Louis, or from Cincinnati to St. Louis, along its flight path. But TWA tended to use the aircraft in Boston to St. Louis to LA, back to St. Louis, and then back on to Boston as its daily flight. Sometimes it was also flown by a 747, I think just depending on what aircraft were available. But that's a flight that my father took a number of times for McDonnell Douglas whenever he'd have to go out to the West Coast in their Long Beach facility, because the I guess you could almost consider it the McDonald's shuttle between St. Louis and LA departed St. Louis at 5 p.m. So if you were working out at McDonnell Douglas, which is on the other side of the tarmac, basically, on the runways, from St. Louis Lambert International Airport, at least back in those days, it would just be a quick hop and a jump over to the terminal, and you could leave the office at 4 o'clock or 4:30, check in, and be on a flight at 5 o'clock and get out to LA about 9 p.m. local time there. Get into your hotel, wake up the next morning, go to your meeting, and then be back on a plane to St. Louis and get back in about, what I say that the flight arrived around 3 p.m. Again, I'd have to double check timetables. And there's a handy dandy website for that called departedflights.com. So the L1011 was kind of interesting. It was the last of the first generation of, quote, jumbo jets. I know some people say that really only 4-engine planes qualify as that, but nonetheless, a lot of people used to refer to the 747, the DC-10, and the L1011 as the first generation wide-body aircraft as also being a jumbo jet. Interestingly enough, the at least L1011-1 had a fairly limited range. It wasn't used extensively for intercontinental flights. There were airlines that did fly it from, say, New York City over to England and back. But primarily it was mainly a medium to long-haul heavy passenger route aircraft. Now, it was the last of the three to come online, and that's because Lockheed elected to basically start with a clean sheet design. And it included a lot of innovations, including humidity control for the passenger cabin, so that people wouldn't get so dried out while flying. And if we look over here, you'll see a humidity control as an option. So that was one of the innovative features. Kind of a common flight deck pattern that you'll see in an arrangement on almost all aircraft today, with the autopilot and other controls, radios, navigational radios, and everything up here, which you would find in any other McDonnell, Douglas, or Boeing airliner, as well as Airbus. This has become the common platform. I believe also the Dash 8 and Embraers feature most of their controls up here. And the other really innovative feature on this aircraft, it was one of the first, if not the first, to also include Autoland as a capability with a Category 3 ILS system. And that includes conducting the flare at the very end of the landing procedure. In fact, we'll try to demonstrate that again this time, provided that we don't get rammed by an MD-80. I attempted this flight Saturday, I think it was, and that did not end well.
Here you are.
Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, with you, flight level 320. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, Atlanta Center, roger.
It's about to cross over here into North Carolina. I'm going to take a quick break here from the chat and go blow my nose. I'll be right back. being a billionaire and founding an airline is a good way to become a multimillionaire. I mean, that's the old joke. If you want to become a multimillionaire owning an airline, how do you do it? Well, start out a billionaire. And this is something that was kind of interesting because when we fly domestic, more often than not, it's Southwest, just because for us, they're usually the most convenient airline. Although lately, in the past year, the couple of flights we've been on have been American. But it was one of those things that my wife was like, well, why not have an airline that has slightly more expensive seating, but, you know, offers more legroom and things like that? And the answer to that is, well, interestingly enough, that is something that Trump tried with Trump Shuttle. They revamped the former Eastern Airlines aircraft with better interiors, better leather seats and stuff like that. I think fewer passenger seats, and tried to charge a premium for it, thinking that there would be a market for it. And it turns out every time that price ultimately sells, kind of whether you like it or not. There was another airline based out of Dallas Love Field that got around the 56 passenger option or limitation of the right amendment. It was called Legends Airways, and they flew DC-9s equipped with essentially all business class seats, which was like around 39 people. And they had, I think, daily flights to other places in Texas as well as to Las Vegas. But again, that airline ceased to exist within about 6 months of going into operation. And it's not like this hasn't been tried before. I believe KLM operated what was known as the Dutch, or the Shell Shuttle, from Houston Intercontinental to Amsterdam on a 737-900 that was, again, all business class configuration. And they did run that one for a couple of years, though. But it's just one of those things that running an airline is a competitive and tough marketplace, and cost of airline tickets is a determining factor for a lot of people. You know, whether they want to admit otherwise or not is a different story, but... And I'm thinking about, with Prepared version 4 being out, I don't think I'm going to be picking it up this month. I may pick it up next month and go in and do a series of videos with Air Hauler 2 to kind of illustrate some of the dynamics about running an airline, because I think it does that a lot better than FsPassengers does, frankly. But I got to do this, and then I've got to open up BB-Edit and finish working on continue to work on my add-on for X-Plane tonight. Worked on it last night. I've got the flight monitoring pretty well, I think, down and done. Now I'm trying to work on UI elements and try to figure out how all of that works with the XPLM widgets and menus and stuff like that, because the widget code and the menu code in particular, if you get something wrong, there's no feedback to a console or air logging, because it crashes X-Plane before it gets to that point on load screen. So if there's an error in your code, something it doesn't like, you know pretty much instantaneously. Unfortunately, that doesn't help with debugging other than, hey, this doesn't work. But having to learn and figure out where all the callbacks and stuff like that is.
Tango Bravo 814 Heavy. Contact Atlanta Center on 134.55. Going to 134.55. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy. Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, with you. Tango Bravo 814 Heavy, Atlanta Center, roger.
say the other fun fact, the Tango Bravo was the call sign or call letters for Trump Shuttle that I've been using for this series. But I know that's pointed to one of his biggest business failures, which he wouldn't be the first and he won't be the last person to lose in the airline business. But it was really interesting because prior to his acquisition of Trump Shuttle, the airline ran Trump Shuttle, which was a helicopter service from the various helicopter pads around Manhattan to the airports, and ran a very successful company. In fact, I believe they flew several Sikorsky's and Chinooks in a passenger configuration, and thought could turn that same business model into a more successful airline. Turned out, couldn't. I kind of wonder that if it had been 10 years earlier, maybe? And I kind of wonder today with some modern planes like the Embraer E-Jet series and stuff like that, if you couldn't make a go of it with slightly more spaced out seats at a slightly higher premium. Again, people will say, yeah, sure, I'll pay $10 more a ticket in order to fly on more comfortable seats and stuff like that, until they go to buy their tickets at Orbitz or wherever, and nope, they'll spend the $20 less, complain and bitch about it, but ultimately, that seems to be what happens with the marketplace. It's one of those things, everybody loves to complain about it, but when you bring up the, well, would you spend $20? And they say yes, it's like you can almost go liar. Now, interestingly enough, Southwest did do when they were competing in Texas against Braniff in the 70s of, well, if you pay full price, we'll give you a free bottle of liquor, because a bottle of liquor didn't cost $13. But it was a different era, different type of consumer, and I think that really still holds true. That people will say in a marketing study that they'll do one thing, but when it comes to them to input their credit card numbers and actually pay the bill, they'll do something different. They pay $20 less and bitch about it, and pay $20 more and have a more comfortable ride. That's just the nature of the business. I don't know, it would be interesting to look at if I ever went back to school and got an MBA. Designing a business traveler's airline would be what I would run my MBA thesis on. I think it could be done, but you know, I don't have $100 million to gamble and see if it would. All evidence is to the contrary. Now, ironically, whenever I was growing up as a kid, I never did like the look of the 727 for some reason, but I always kind of did the L1011, even though it's kind of just a bigger 727 in many respects. But there was something about the way that the center intake on the 727, it's not perfectly round, it's kind of oval shaped if you ever get to looking at it, and I don't know, that just always annoyed me for some reason. But I like flying this aircraft a hell of a lot more than I do that 707. That 707, I'm just... I'm glad I only spent $10 on it. Had to tackle it for historical reasons and purposes, but man, I hated that thing. This is a little bit of a rare time for me to be streaming, as normally this is about the time my wife gets home, but she had something. I was going to keep her after work later. I think there was an ACC meeting after work, so... that she had to go to. It's louder than the 727. The 727... in the back of the plane, I don't know. Interestingly enough, the cabin is not modeled in this aircraft like their 727 series. I do not believe. But this aircraft was a little bit louder than the 727 due to the fact that it had the underwing engines. With the 727s, all three engines were rear-mounted, which made it fairly quiet unless you're in the back 4 or 5 seats. It made it pretty pleasant. And we just got lightning somewhere. Where's the thundercloud? I don't see a thunderhead anywhere. Sometimes that is rendered correctly, other times not so much. And again, it says that it should have weather radar, but I've never been able to get the weather radar to actually work, so... yeah. Now another thing is the SIVA navigation system, back in the day, the Carousel INS, can only have a maximum of 9 waypoints. If you had more than 9 waypoints, then you'd have to go back to the beginning and basically overwrite them in the middle of the flight.
Turn right heading 355, proceed on course. Turn right heading 355, proceed on course. Altitude 028.
Well, sorry, Delta, you're about to once again get some competition back at Atlanta. Now, Eastern Airlines was headquartered out of Miami.
Climb and maintain flight level 340. Turn left heading 330. Climb and maintain flight level
259.
340. Delta 878.
Let's see here, 116.9. So 130 miles. This is showing 119 miles. That's the ATL4. ATL4 is 0.7 miles, so that's practically on the airport. So about 30 more nautical miles, and I would estimate that we should be getting the instructions to descent. yes, I guess there's some thunderstorms in the area because we keep getting...
Atlanta Center, Eagle Flight 3536, display 14,400 for flight level 190.
Eagle Flight 3536, Atlanta Center, roger. Altimeter 2995. Tango Dollar 814 Heavy, contact Atlanta Center on 134.8.
134.8 for Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
So there's scattered storms in the area, but nothing over Atlanta at the moment.
Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
There's a lot of rain down in Mississippi and Alabama. Memphis, across to Arkansas.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Contact Atlanta Center on 127.5. Going to 127.5. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Allegiant 936. First left heading 315. Descend and maintain flight level 260. Delta. Atlanta Center. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. With you. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center. Roger. Atlanta Center, Delta 451 is at flight level 312, descending flight level 200. Delta 451, Atlanta Center, roger.
I have some hot food for you, Captain. Here you go.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy, descend and maintain flight level 260. Descend and maintain flight level 260. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
Atlanta Center, Delta 878 with you.
Delta 878, Atlanta Center, roger. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, please expedite your descent to flight level 260. Delta 451, contact Atlanta Center on 134.8.
That should expedite the descent enough for them.
451.
So 220 passengers on board. And we have the typical 3-class layout, 256 passengers configuration.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy, contact Atlanta Center on 134.8. Going to
Excuse me.
134.8. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 heavy, descent flight level 279er, descending flight level 260. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, Atlanta Center, roger. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, contact Atlanta Center on 134.8. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 heavy is at flight level 267 for flight level 260. Delta 451, contact Atlanta Center on 127.5. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, Atlanta Center, roger. 127.5 for Delta 451. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, descend and maintain 12000. Descend and maintain 12000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center, Delta 878 with flight level 34. Delta 878, Atlanta Center, roger. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, contact Atlanta Center on 124.45. Delta 878, contact Atlanta Center on 135.35. 124.45 for Tango Bravo 814 heavy. 135. Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 heavy is at flight level 247, descending 12000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, Atlanta Center, roger.
So into our descent here. We still don't have vectors for runway yet, but our expected runways. Plan to arrive in about 20 minutes here. I think we're going to be pretty well dead on to that. So even though the equipment and some of the gauges and stuff look antiquated, from a systems perspective, this is a lot like flying a modern airliner. In many ways, you can consider it to be the first modern airliner, even though it still has the steampunk gauges.
Atlanta Center, Tango Bravo 814 heavy is at flight level 210, descending 12000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, Atlanta Center, roger.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are descending to our destination. Please fasten your seatbelts and make sure all portable electronic devices are securely stowed so that we may secure the cabin for arrival.
Well, I'm glad you realize that you are...
We're passing transition altitude, Captain.
Going to 18,000 here.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy, you are 57 miles northeast. Turn right heading 275, expect vectors, ILS, runway 26 right approach. Turn right heading 275, expect vectors, ILS, runway 26 right approach. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit of turbulence here. So 26 right. Two six right, 110.1. 8900, okay. I'm going to see what was the 273. Excuse me as I had to do a sneezing fit there. So ILS. There is set good. Speed brake. Help slow us down just a little bit. Make sure that we get under 250 knots whenever we do get below 10,000.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Turn left heading 240. Turn left heading 240.
Too far.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Contact Atlanta. Approach on 126.975. 126.975 for Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. With you 12,100. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Center. Roger. Altimeter 3000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Descend and maintain 6,000. Descend and maintain 6,000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Contact Atlanta. Approach on 126.975. Going to 126.975. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta approach. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Is out of 11,300 for 6,000. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta approach. Roger. Altimeter 3000.
Lights on. So DMT, let's see here, DME2, 116.9.
Descending below 10,000 feet.
So 37 miles from the airport.
Delta 451, turn right heading 075. Turn right heading 075, Delta 451. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, turn left heading 215. Bravo 814 heavy. Turn left heading 185. Turn left heading 185. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Delta 451, traffic is 9 o'clock, 4 miles at 6,800. Lockheed L1011, report them in sight. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, traffic is 9 o'clock, 4 miles at 6,000. Boeing 757, report them in sight. Delta 451, turn right heading 150. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, at the traffic. Turn right heading 150, Delta 451. Delta 451 pass at Lockheed L1011 in sight.
So hopefully we're not ramming into a 757 this time on approach. I did not pay any attention to what, if they're landing 26 Rs, 26 left. So we're 29 miles from the airport, give or take.
Delta 451, turn right.
Hey, how are you doing there, Fun Thames?
Turn right
I'm
heading
doing pretty good.
150, Delta 451.
Getting ready for landing here in Atlanta, and hopefully we'll get rammed by another aircraft on final. Ooh, passengers don't like the turbulence. Not much I can do about that here.
Echo Bravo 814 heavy, you are 28 miles. Turn right heading 250. Send and maintain 5,000. Cleared ILS. Runway 26. Right approach. Maintain 5,000 until established on the localizer. Contact Atlanta Tower on 125.325. Delta 451. You are 37 miles. Turn right heading
This is probably not going to end well.
5,000. Cleared ILS. Runway 26. Right approach. Maintain 5,000 until established on the localizer. Contact Atlanta Tower on 125.325. Turn right heading 250. Descend and maintain 5,000. Cleared ILS. Runway 26. Right approach. Maintain 5,000 until established. Tower on 125.325. Delta 451. Turn right heading 250. Descend and maintain 5,000. Cleared ILS. Runway 26. Right approach. Maintain 5,000 until established. Tower on 125.325. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Tower. Tango Bravo 814 heavy is 25 miles east. Inbound ILS. Runway 26. Right approach. Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta Tower. Make straight in. Runway 26 right. Altimeter 29er. Fly straight in. Runway 26 right. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
So, any bets on whether or not we're going to ram into a 757 on this approach? And just about time, because Mrs. just texted me that she's on her way home and picking stuff up for dinner. So where's the 757? Is it going to crash into us? There it is. 9 miles. 9.8 nautical miles. You stay 10 nautical miles back there, Boeing 757. Do not come crashing through the middle part of my cabin. Because that happened last time only with an MD-80. Like, what the hell just happened? Oh, there's an MD-80 in my cockpit. Okay. 17 miles. And now we sit back.
Atlanta Tower, Delta 451 is 25 miles east. Inbound ILS, runway 26 right approach.
Delta 451, Atlanta Tower. Straight in, runway 26 right, altimeter 2999er.
Fly straight in, runway 26 right. Delta
Yes, fly straight
451.
in. Only watch for L1011 on final, suckers. And we have glide slope capture. Flaps full. Oh no. Oh, that's where I... Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. No. Very, very picky on where it wants. Gear down.
Gear down.
Okay, I guess should take care of it. .3 nautical miles. 7.2. This is not looking good. They're gaining on us. This is where I say that the .6. That goddamn 757 is going to cut us off. 6.3. Give me the clearance to land and then wave off the 757.
2500.
Yeah, passengers, you have a right to have fear on board because there's a 757 sneaking up behind us that's likely to crash into us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
Land, runway 26 right.
Cleared to land, runway 26 right. Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
It's a race to see if we get slammed or not. Been given clearance to land. 757 are going to be told to go around. 4.9 nautical miles. 4.8. No dual.
1,000.
Approaching 26 right.
.7. Haha, sucker, you're going around. I pity the fool. Planned arrival in 1 minute. We're going to be a couple of minutes late.
400.
Delta 451 cleared to land, runway 26 right. Follows on.
Approaching minimums.
Cleared to land, runway 26 right.
Minimums.
Delta 451.
100. 50. 40. 20.
Reverse thrusters engaged.
4,000 feet remaining.
80 knots. 60 knots.
3,000 feet remaining.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Exit runway when able.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Contact ground on 118.1.
That was an easy landing. It's amazing what happens when all I have to do is press a button.
118.1 for Tango Bravo 814 heavy. Atlanta ground, Tango Bravo 814 heavy, taxi to the gate. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, taxi to gate, Echo 4, via taxiway Bravo 3, Bravo 6, Echo 5, Echo, Foxtrot 5. Taxiing to gate, Echo 4, using taxiway Bravo 3, Bravo 6, Echo 5, Echo, Foxtrot 5, Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
Oh, and let's make our guys a little bit happier by putting some music on them for them on the ground here. It's going to squawk at me because I'm using differential thrusters, so I've got the thrust for my right engine at full to help turn the aircraft. So it'll squawk at me whenever I do that. Hey, look, there's the 757. We beat you, and you didn't land in my cabin. Ha ha ha, suckers. Former Eastern Airlines 757. I'm being a little bit sardonic here today.
Atlanta ground altitude 361.
But that was a real precise arrival time.
Delta 2361, taxi to and hold short of runway 27 right, taxiway Lima Juliet Mike. Contact tower on 119.5, when ready. Atlanta ground Delta 451, taxi to the gate. Delta 451, taxi to gate Bravo.
Approaching 08 right.
Bravo 4, Echo 3, Echo, Foxtrot 2. Taxiing to gate Bravo 3-4 via taxiway Bravo 5, Bravo 4, Echo 3, Echo, Foxtrot 2, Delta 451. Taxiing hold short runway 27 right via taxiway Lima Juliet Mike, altitude 3.
And my wife is home, so I've got to hurry up and taxi this thing. Not only for bonus points, but
Delta 74 heavy, taxi to and hold short of runway 26 left via taxiway Golf Echo.
I don't like it when we have our strobe on.
3.85, when ready. Taxiing hold short runway 26 left using taxiway Golf Echo. Delta 74 heavy. Tango Bravo 814 heavy, hold position, caution of the traffic. Hold position, Tango Bravo 814 heavy.
Whatever you are, you better not ran into me and cause a crash at this stage, else I'm going to be very, very pissed off. Fortunately, X-Plane does not detect collisions like that, so yeah, I don't have to worry about that. I do have to say that the 727 is probably my favorite aircraft to fly, but this one's a close second. I really like the L1011. I think there's more to do in the 727. This is getting a little bit closer to modern airliners where you fly the aircraft by push-button control rather than stick, rudder, and requires a little bit more fuel and input. Yeah, there's one other FsPassengers series that I want to do after we complete the international airline scenario, and that's the Warzone 1. And that'll be done all flying the Lockheed C-130. Yes. I know it. You don't like it when I do differential thrust, but you can deal with it. Okay, so on. Shut down on engines 1 and 3. I think that's because I have generator to 2. Go ahead and start the APU. APU thrust power on. Engine 2 off. Those two need to be off. Taxi light off. Call for the oh, and we can also
arrived at our destination. On behalf of the captain and crew, we thank you for flying with us, and we hope that you will join us again. Ladies and
too
gentlemen,
bad.
The door is open. Please make your way to the exit, and please make sure you have all your personal items and carry-on luggage.
In flight, 343, 145 knots, 5 degrees. Of course, this was all with auto land. Made 7 million sim bucks. Forgot to activate the nav lights in flight, so it's not detecting nav lights. As soon as engines is running, you forgot them. Okay, so I'm going to assume that it's just not detecting the beacon lights and stuff correctly. 1% increase, 7 million sim bucks. We're a very good flight. I'm going to go ahead and record this one. And we will go to instant replay. I think it was about 4 minutes, so 360 seconds. See where that puts us. Not far enough back. So 500 seconds. View it coming in. Eastern Airlines coming in for a landing here as the graphics kind of are shuttering. Auto land. So I'm guessing the spoilers don't auto deploy. Or are the spoilers deployed? I can't really tell. No, it doesn't look like the spoilers are deployed, but that could just be an error, a rendering error. Yeah, because it's not showing that the flaps are down either, so that's just a rendering error on playback. 500. Any other interesting views here? Landing gear. Automatic flare. Not quite center line, but normally it's the left wing looking out. Oh, I guess we need the left window then. Alright. This is going to be the last replay view here. It's like coming in from the passenger's view. Rolls-Royce engine going. So I guess spoilers don't animate on replay. Neither do the tires rotate either. At any rate, very successful flight, unlike the last time around. Thank you very much for watching. I may be back later tonight. I may not. Don't know. If not, I will certainly be here tomorrow, as we will probably be going on a much longer flight. Until then, see you next time.